Get ready to dive deep into winning the health game. Strength, sex, and stamina with two leading experts. Dr. Courtney Hollowell is chair of urology and a nationally recognized authority in urologic oncology and men's health. With a career dedicated to advancing men's health and complex reconstructive surgery, Dr. Hollowell brings a wealth of experience and insight on achieving peak physical performance. Dr. David Montgomery, better known as Dr. Dave, is a board-certified cardiologist and founder of Prevent Clinic in Atlanta, a familiar face on TV. Dr. David is a trusted medical contributor for News Nation and has appeared on CNN and more. Together, Dr. Hollowell and Dr. Dave will break down the essentials of strength, vitality, and longevity in today's discussion on winning the health game.
Today, we're going to hit 4 really important points. And I don't know any of you personally, but here's what I know. I know that anything that you're wanting to do in life, your purpose in life, that all of it is uphill. That none of it is you can accomplish by drifting. Your purpose in life, the reason why you're here, all of that takes work. And I will submit to you that you cannot truly live out your purpose unless you have a body that's optimized to do it and a mind that's primed to get you to the next mountain. There's a problem with just drifting along. Jim Rohn said this. The problem with drift is nobody ever got to the top of the mountain by drifting. So we got to work. And we're going to talk about these 4 important things.
Absolutely. So, I think just to dovetail on what you're saying, you're learning all this whole weekend basically about investments in yourself, right? And quite frankly, investments pay dividends if you work at them. For example, I invest my money so that I can be financially viable. We invest, Dave, in our children so that they can be, so they can get ahead. We invest even in our relationships so, they will be successful. But we don't want to make sure that we make the mistake of not investing in our health, right? You won't be around to enjoy all those investments if you're not equally spending time investing in yourself. So I'm hoping that today we can drill down on about 4 pillars that we think are must. They're non-negotiables you need to work at in order to really have a long, healthy life. Okay? And so the first one we wanted to drill down in and really try to talk about was this importance with sleep. I know that sounds kind of like, all right, well, I can get sleep. I can bounce right back. Trust me, anybody who's over 35 years of age in this room knows that it just doesn't work that way, right? So, Dave, tell us about sleep. Why is this so important?
Yeah, so the guys, I talked to a couple guys already. Anybody was here last year? We talked about sleep. Do you remember the number of hours we said I wanted you to go try that night? How many hours was it? 7 hours. 7 hours. I had one guy come up and said it changed my life. But why are we talking about it again? These 4 things, including sleep, are things that we know when people live for a long time. The people that we look up to, that we want to be like and emulate, guess what? They do this extremely well. They do all of these things extremely well. But why is sleep a universal program? Think about this. Every animal, insect that you can think of, just name it in your head. It sleeps. Mosquitoes sleep. What is that about? Why is it a universal program to sleep? And we talked about it. It's because all of the repair and the restoration and the rejuvenation occurs during your sleep. The body is designed to heal itself. At the cellular level, I learned this as a grad student, the cells have hundreds and hundreds of mechanisms to repair themselves. It's happening while you're awake, but it goes into hyperdrive when you go to sleep. All of repair, stuff that went wrong, that thing you drank the night before, it's getting repaired. If you don't sleep, you don't get the repair. So if you're going to say, like I hear a lot, and I wish the political candidate would stop saying this, I'll sleep when I, guess what? Turn the clock on right now. Because the science says that people who don't sleep don't live for a long time. You're not demented. You just didn't sleep. That's why you can't think straight. That's why you don't remember, right? You don't have a problem with a new metabolic problem. You're awake when you should be asleep, so your body's stressed and you eat what you shouldn't eat. You don't have a brand new blood pressure problem. You have sleep disordered breathing and sleep apnea, and now your blood pressure's too high, right? You don't lack vitamin B12. The reason you don't have energy and you're tired is because you haven't invested in sleep. Will Smith was, there's a clip on Instagram where Will Smith is talking about the difference between good and great. Anybody seen that? Will Smith is saying, you might have to change your friends. Second one, you might have to study sleep. In order to be me, he said, you want to be great, you got to do those things. Why is Will Smith talking about sleep? Because he's, like we all have done probably, tried to, burn the candle at both ends. And your body's like, no, you can't optimally function. You can't be your best if you don't sleep. So I want to challenge everybody again. There is no side effect to putting yourself to sleep when you should, and do it for a solid week and see what that rejuvenation, restoration, repair will do for that deal you're trying to get, that next mountain you're trying to climb, right? The woman that you want to, you just operate on a different plane. But sleep's not the only thing, right? If I'm not sleeping, I'm going to eat some crazy stuff.
That's true. That, we all know when we get tired, we tend to eat entirely differently, right? And, if we think about sleep, you got to remember, look, sleep is necessary for life, right? You can't not sleep. You can get about 11 days before that becomes a real problem. You can get about 3 days without water. You can get about 30 or 40 seconds without air. These are non-negotiables. These are things that you need in order to maintain life. And so, remember, there may be things in your sleep that become an issue that make you have problems with the quality of your sleep as well, right? It's not just the quantity, it's the quality of it as well. And that could be broken up from all different reasons. Getting up at night to have to go to the bathroom. I know there's some people in the room that say, hey, I know exactly what you're talking about. And by having your sleep broken like that, the next day you're not functioning as well. And so that can become an issue. So, Dave, you're right on point. And by the way, that rejuvenation happens from all different things. For example, when you sleep and when you don't sleep, your testosterone level goes down.
There you go.
So that can be an issue as well. So instead of running around trying to supplement your testosterone, maybe get just a little bit of rest.
Yeah. A lot of issues can arise from supplementing testosterone in the wrong person.
Absolutely.
And testosterone analogs, that means they sell it over the counter.
Absolutely.
So be careful.
So, and you're bringing up a very good point. Anytime you're going to a store and sitting down with a 15-year-old to tell you which product to pick off the counter for testosterone, you got a problem. You got a real problem. So being very, very mindful of that.
Yeah.
That's not what you should be doing. You shouldn't be playing chemistry with yourself. But that next pillar that you so rightfully brought up, this concept of our meal plan, right? I try not to call it diet because, quite frankly, I tell everyone, don't start something you can't continue. If you can't maintain it, don't change it in your meal plan. Because if you end up just doing something for a short time, right? I'm going to take carbohydrates out of my diet. I'm going to be on the lemonade and cayenne pepper diet. Yes, you are going to be able to muster some time to do that, and you'll probably lose weight. But very shortly, when you introduce these things back into your diet, you're going to just gain that weight back. In fact, many people gain more, right?
Yeah.
So, so I'm constantly telling individuals, when you're thinking about what you're eating, understand some concepts. The first is back in the 90s, there was this whole fat-free craze. You remember that? Everybody knows fat-free Intamin's and cookies and all this stuff. Well, when you pull something out, you have to put something back in. And what they did is they put in sugar, right? And so instead of just having, a muffin with fat in it or yogurt with fat in it, now you've got yogurt loaded with sugar. In addition, studies show that that food item didn't have, before, didn't have as many calories. In fact, studies showed that the fat-free item ended up having more calories, and it had more processed, sugars, ultra-processed sugars in there. So, and you know what sugars do? Sugars are just as addictive as nicotine. They're just as addictive as alcohol. So now you've got an item that has more calories and more addictive. It's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Right? And so shortly after, we start seeing every year, every decade, everybody's packing on the pounds. We're all packing on the pounds, right? In fact, it's clear that we don't weigh nearly what our ideal body weight was, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And this is because, look, we've changed our foods, right? It's chemistry. We've changed it right in front of us. But also, it's because of advertisement that occurs on that label, that box, can, bag, bottle. First, you need to eliminate those as much as possible from what you eat, right? You're better off eating on the outside of a grocery store and not on the inside areas of the grocery store. That's where all the ultra-processed food's going to be. They're going to be crackers. They're going to be cereals. They're going to be, anything that comes, cookies is going to be, chips, all the ultra-processed food. You really need to stay away from those as much as possible. But when they study individuals and they say on that bag, on that box, it's heart healthy, low fat, whatever, on the cover, you're more likely to eat that item and eat about 30% more. This whole concept of this health halo, right? I'm doing the right thing, so not only am I going to eat this, but I'm going to give myself an additional portion of it. So we eat more. We actually pack on the pounds. In fact, that's become the reality. Studies show that within 2 decades, individuals, all of us, we usually consume about 800 more calories a day than we did 20 years ago. So we all know what that means. Right? You're young and your metabolism's on overdrive and you think you can get away with that. But the truth is every decade, if you're eating like when you were 18 still today and you're 40 years old, Houston, we got a problem, right? Because you're going to gain weight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, Doc. So I was talking to a gentleman. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not sure I can share everything. But we're the same age. So I'm 50. He's slightly older. And we were talking about how the things that we used to do before, the things that we used to eat, we can't eat them anymore. I used to tease 50-year-old guys when I was 25. Like, pull yourself together. Well, what are you talking about? Your body does change. And the metaphor that we used was a game. The game of basketball essentially is the same. Michael Jordan today is 60-something years old, could go and play ball. But the way he played ball, 20 years ago, is going to be very different than the way he would play it today. He still get 25, 30 points in the league, right? But the way that he would get that first step is not going to be that first step anymore. I don't care what you say. So he may have to do some more set shots. Anybody know about the set shot?
Sure.
Right? The game of health and weight is exactly the same. The laws of thermodynamics that determine your weight is the same. The way you have to play the game as you move through the life course changes.
Play smarter.
You can still win. And if you're just like, everything's changing, you just let stuff get out of hand, then you're losing the game. In fact, you're not even playing the game. You're sitting the pine on purpose. You're making that decision. So here's what I'm trying to tell you. If you will focus on what you fuel your body with, you are going to be more successful in life. You don't know why you can't think straight. It's because your sugar's too high and you don't know it. because of what you just ate. Well, it's the same thing you've always eaten. I was talking to the guy. He was like, I always have this one thing after dinner. I've done it for 30 years. Bro, we're 50. You can't do that anymore, right? And and I had a similar thing. We come to this realization that we've got to prioritize this stuff. If you are just drifting into what you're going to eat today, you can't drift to the top of the mountain. You want to go to the top of the mountain, you got a deal you're about to make. It's not going to be the same.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be the same.
Truth.
How many of you can identify, raise your hand, if you can identify a food that you know you shouldn't eat, and when you eat it, your body does not like it?
Doesn't agree with you.
How many of us will sometimes still eat that? Right?
Go.
Okay. That is, I'm raising my hand. I'm not trying to do an example. I'm raising my hand. I'm a scientist and a cardiologist, but I'm fully a human being, and I'm raising my hand too. Sometimes I still eat potato chips. I should not eat potato chips. Okay? Sometimes I eat and it doesn't have to always be something bad. Sometimes I eat too much kale, and I shouldn't eat that much kale. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay. You ate it a little bit. Well, I said, let's get him a bowl of kale. He never had kale in his life, actually.
And everybody gonna move away from him.
It is a profound failure of priorities not to eat what you should eat to perform at your best. It is a profound source of disrespect for yourself to not plan your meals like you plan your vacation.
Dave, we pay attention to what we put in our car.
That's it.
We know that it needs premium unleaded. But if someone came up to you and said, let's put vinegar in there, you'd say, absolutely not. I know what my car needs. The difference is you can buy another car. You only got one body.
Only one.
So you have to fuel it appropriately, right? Here's an interesting question that always comes up with people who want to even lose weight. They say, man, I really need to lose weight. So I'm going to start getting a gym membership and I'm going to go to the gym. And I always stop and I say to myself, okay, let's be careful and understand this. You typically lose weight from what you do in the kitchen. You become physically fit by what you do in the gym.
Who knows that? Raise your hand if you know that.
Yeah. So, this concept of fitness is that next pillar that we want to really touch on.
Yeah.
Tell us about physical exercise.
Yeah. So, if some of this stuff feels like, yeah, I already know that. But do you? When we think about the blue zones, anybody heard of the blue zones? That these are regions in the world that they study because the people live well into their 90s and 100s, and they're doing great. What is that? Is that a secret? Is that a genetic lottery that they won? Absolutely not. They typically do all of this stuff extremely well, and they keep doing it. I didn't say they're perfect, but you are what you repeatedly do, the quote says, not what you did one time. So if I had a bag of potato chips, okay, but if I keep eating that bag of potato chips, I actually become a bag of potato chips. I know it sounds funny. No, I'm serious, right? Look, I'm talking straight. Look, he was at that message just for me. It's like at church. Me. But it's true on a cellular level, right? You actually become what you eat. The exercise piece, if you don't have an exercise program, you are not availing yourself to the physiology that the Creator put into your body. At the cellular level, you operate at a new point of function when you release the chemicals that come from exercise and only come from exercise, which is why doctors say to people, let's say, with high blood pressure, exercise. People with cancer, exercise. People with ovarian disease, exercise. People with these risks, because what you hear, which is why it sounds so trite. Okay, doctor, I'm on the news. Okay, doctor, tell us how to prevent this. You're scaring us. Now tell us how to prevent it. And guess what I say all the time? Exercise, diet, sleep, mindful. We say the same things all over again. And you might tune it out at your peril. An exercise program for these gentlemen has to be an exercise that you have to pay conscious attention to. In my mind, walking is a really great form of activity. But for this group, it is not enough exercise to elaborate, is the word we use, that physiology that you're trying to get when you exercise. Any runners in here? Anybody heard of a runner's high? We used to think that the runner's high was endorphins only. It's actually a combination of chemicals. One of them is an endocannabinoid. In other words, your body makes a substance that's similar to cannabis, and it gives you this euphoria. It gives you this feeling, which is why runners will run out on that lake in December. And y'all are like, well, what are you doing? They don't care about what you think. They want that feeling again. They're addicted to that feeling. Go get you some good feeling. And here's the other piece. If you want to fight the prostate cancer, look at the numbers. The guys who come in with rip-roaring prostate cancer that is advanced don't have the exercise program like the guys who do not.
And by the way, that point is it can be seen in other cancers as well, right? Prostate cancer, we know, colon and rectal cancer, we know, breast cancer, all have some association with lack of activity, this inactivity, right? Now we've gotten to the point where if you're inactive, it's like a disease, sitting's disease, we call it, right? I mean, one can be in their house in a box, get in their car because we don't drive anywhere, get to work, sit in a box, a cubicle, hunched over a computer all day long, and ultimately take that car back home to watch TV.
Yeah.
Tell us about the fact that, if you're exercising a couple times a week, can you think that exercising once or twice or three times a week can negate all the sitting you're doing all day?
Yeah, so there's real studies on this. Believe it or not, people we study everything in medicine, and the study is the data over the years, the decades, have shown that in fact you can counteract some of the effects of sitting by going to have an exercise program. So it's got to be an exercise program where you've got to be paying attention to it. So walking's not enough for this group. It's got to be something where your heart rate goes up and stays up, right? And so when you have those two things, because not everybody can do the same exercise. Why? Somebody's knee doesn't work that well. So you don't do any burpees if your knee is not doing well. Somebody can't do the same exercise as I can because their hip or their vision or whatever it is. But if you keep to those two parameters, I've got to be paying attention to it. And my heart rate's got to go up and stay up. I didn't tell you to a number, but your heart rate goes up and stays up for the period of time of exercise. You then elaborate this chemistry that I'm trying to tell you is so good for blood pressure, cancers, all of these things. You want to fight the disease that's in your family, you fight it by having a program that maybe your family didn't have. That's an exercise program. So yes, it doesn't mean you can't go and do your IT job. It just means that it can't be a couple times a week for this group, because the risk of having diseases, I was so tired of hearing that, doc, in medical school, and black folks die more. Wait, why?
Yeah.
Because we won't, as a group of people, do what's known by the blue zones on purpose as a priority. We're no longer going to fit into the group who are, this profound failure of priorities. We're not doing that anymore. So whatever you think is your barrier for exercise, or any of these other four pillars, put it away. There's no excuse. You do not have a reason why you should not have an exercise program where you've got to pay attention to, whether that's a trainer that's training you, whether you're doing a CrossFit, whether you're doing some kind of cross-trained where you can't be thinking about other things, or learn like swimming. Swimming is a fantastic exercise, 4 days a week. How many guys exercise at least 4 days a week? Raise your hand. All right. If you look at do that again, guys, raise your hand. If you look at those guys that exercise 4 days a week and we put them up on the stage, on average, their bodies will look differently than the guys who do not. As you get to my age, 50, you're going to learn that you've got to do more than just change your diet, that you've got to exercise. Now, I'm skinny, and I was just telling Tim, I said, Tim, listen, man, it didn't look good when I started getting this gut. I had to do something. I had to stop eating what I was eating, and I had to change my exercise. So the last part is this. If you want to stay young, exercise. We don't stop challenging ourselves because we grow old. We grow old because we stop challenging ourselves. Go figure out a new exercise program to do. Don't do the same one you were doing before. Your body's locked into that one. Challenge yourself a little bit more. Put some more weight. Do something that scares you, right? So,
you know, the other is that you need to make sure that if you're getting this cardio routine, that you also add to it strength and resistance, right? We want to improve cardiovascular health with the aerobic exercise, but you want to also improve the skeletal muscles that we have, because as we get older, it's harder to maintain those skeletal muscles. Every decade, your muscles are going to decrease in size, and the only way to maintain them or try to decrease in your muscle is to be involved in a resistance exercise. So you need to add at least 3 days a week to that, really trying to get some weights, some resistance bands, whatever you have, you can use those things, but it's important to continue that. Also, resistance helps maintain your bones. You actually have to cause stress on your bones in order for them to get stronger and to maintain their strength. So, I do recommend you add that resistance training there, okay? The other is that when you do resistance exercises, when you do anaerobic, like HIIT training or anything where you're getting your heart rate up high, you're also, remember we said something about boosting testosterone, how the lack of sleep drops your testosterone? Well, guess what? Actually, exercise boosts your testosterone as well. So when everybody talking to me about what they want to supplement because it's natural, I'm perplexed, because there are things that are natural that you can do that you're not giving yourself some supplement that potentially your body is telling you something. Your testosterone's dropping because why? You're not eating right, because you're not sleeping right, and it's because you're not working out correctly.
Yeah.
Another one may be even intercourse, sex.
Yeah.
That actually, if you're not having sex, your testosterone drops. But think about what that means, right? Testosterone is that male hormone. It makes you look younger. Females with the estrogen, it makes them look younger, right? That's as we get older, it drops. Well, that's what you want, right? When you're having sex, you're usually younger. So, wants to maintain that young look. You want to get a partner. These are all the things that a young person needs to know. That's what it's there for, right? For you to maintain that young glow and to, get your mojo on, right?
Yeah. Well, we're getting a sign. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow around the lunchtime, bring your lunches. We got breakouts.
Oh.
I want you to think about this question overnight. Don't drink too much. And that is, what's the age you want to live to? How old do you want to be before you go? Let's talk about that in a workshop tomorrow. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Good night, guys.